Hello everybody and welcome to today's live stream. I am your 20% competent host, Mod Sani, and I am joined by the ever wonderful Mod Brow, Mod Grub, Mod West, and someone who's not been on the stream for a while, the artist formerly known as Ghost. How is everyone doing? I will start with you, Mod Brow.
Thumbs up, 2 thumbs up. Can you see that? There you go.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. 2 thumbs up.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
Rob, how are you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Excited to get into it.
Excellent. Is it 2 thumbs up from you as well?
It's like a thumb and.
What is that? It's not a thumb. It's like half a thumb. It's not a rating. Oh my gosh.
Both my thumbs count as 1 because they're a bit dodgy and they look like they're about half a thumb each. So.
Dodgy thumbs.
Mod West.
Yeah.
Mod West, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. 2 thumbs and a big toe.
Wow.
Ooh, up in Mod Brow. Excellent, excellent. And Ghost, how are you doing? It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. I'm well and in high spirits. I'm glad to be here. Thumbs. I've maybe a finger up my nose off camera. Maybe that's what I've got.
I like that thumb.
Just to be different.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I like it. Everyone's feeling different but good all around. That's what we like to hear. And what has everyone been up to this week?
Oof.
Oh, this question's tough every time.
Loaded. I know, every time. Loaded.
One of us is going to slip one day and just...
One of us is going to slip. Yeah.
I think we've spoken.
I imagine partly it's more secrets. But...
Yeah.
It's always secrets.
I don't know what to answer to that because I don't know if we can actually say what we've been working on. Is that a trick question? Or is...
Exactly. It feels like a trick question. It's secret.
Okay.
Secret.
That's a deadly question.
I think we spoke about Dead
is.
Man. I'm doing Dead Man stuff.
Yeah, there we go. There's something for you guys. There's just a little bit. So
We'll have something soon. Something soon, I promise.
yeah, well, we do have the summer reveal stream coming up this month. There's no date announced yet, but that will be coming, so stay tuned for more. But before we get into the stream, let's, as always, go through the announcements. So, ! Game update. Poll 75 Slayer changes are here. Store your task and rock out in the new redesigned helmets, along with more improvements from the poll. Find out what's new with ! Game update. ! Mini poll. Now, we just launched this. I think it was around 3 o'clock this came out, so it's very, very hot off the press. There is a mini poll coming up aimed at addressing feedback following recent changes. Take a look at the mini poll blog with ! Mini poll and share your feedback with us before the poll is launched next week. And finally, ! Chill. If you want something to listen to while you're playing old school, then check out the new comfy lo-fi mix. We work with the fantastic OSRS beats to bring you the ultimate soundtrack to your in-game grind. Listen to it today with ! Chill. Now, if you've got any art-related questions or questions for the art team, please make sure to @OldSchoolRS. We have the wonderful Mod Light on the chat, and a big thanks before we start the stream to Mod Druid and Spear behind the scenes. Now, let us get into some player-created showcase before we get on to the big showcase. So this is called Endgame Content by Chelsea Grin. Now I love the
I really love this, by the way.
Yeah,
I really love this.
Yeah,
This is so good. I want this as a gaming map. It's the perfect gaming map. Can we make that happen?
Oh my God.
I can hear the mumbling just looking at this image. I can hear it.
I regularly tune into the King of the Hill live stream, which is just a YouTube streaming channel where it's just random episodes of King of the Hill. It's like my before bed thing. It's beautiful.
It's a great show. Love the show.
Very good, very good. I can't remember the last time I watched an episode. It must have been ages ago, but still very good. So next we have Help Wanted. This is a comic by Kill Dear Crow. Very cute little comic. Making that undead chicken very, very happy.
There's a little feet sticking out the bottom.
Yeah, the feet sticking out. I just saw that. That's great.
It has purpose now. It has purpose. Carrying around by an adventurer. It's great. Good times. Next, we have the Gillinor Football League. I'm a big fan of these. Big fan of these.
Yeah, these are
Yeah,
cool.
the children.
Who would want to be part of what team? What are you guys drawn to?
Oh, they're all so good.
It's gonna be the tree gnome children, right?
Yeah, that
children,
chin.
children.
The chin on the tree gnome child. That's
Yes, larger than I expected it would be.
that's yeah.
I think I'd go for the Zook. I think that's my favourite one. I think that's really cool. I think I like the symmetry.
Orange.
Nice. Brown Grub, is it all tree gnome children apart from Ghost?
I think so. It's that chin, isn't it? You just can't stop looking at it.
I can't now.
It's mesmerizing. Maybe we should just keep that up while we talk about the art. And the next one is another Wise Old Man tattoo. I know we featured one a couple of weeks ago, but this one is very cool. The art style is very, very cool.
Yeah, this is cool. This is prime for a tattoo. We should maybe throw this at. Yeah.
And the final one is this old school colouring page made by Volcaban. Now I've seen a couple of Reddit threads pop up with people coloured this in, which is really, really cool. So any more of those, chuck them my way because I'd like to see what you guys can do with it.
Yeah, it's
Very,
great.
very
It's
cool.
great. Print it off, get some crayons out.
That could make a really good Where's Wally or Where's Waldo for the Americans.
Oh
Who are watching.
Yeah.
Just populate that.
Yeah.
Should
Where's
do one at the
Nunchuck?
GE though. That's the.
Gnome child. Gnome child would be hard to see as well. Green on green.
Yeah, dude, that'd be perfect.
I
You
love
used
what
to have
the
like
rules
a.
here.
There used to be like an inventory down the side, didn't there? Where it was about 30 things to find. You could have all sorts. It'd be great.
Well, Volcaban, if you needed any more inspiration, there it is. Where's Wally / Waldo, old school style.
Yeah, I think it needs a lot more characters in it.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I think the GE would be the best place. Awesome. Okay, let us get on to the A Kingdom Divided art showcase, which is why we are all here today. So, following on from our previous art showcase stream, the fine individuals that are joining me today are going to run us through some of the art, designs, and process building up to the release of A Kingdom Divided. Now, please be warned, if you haven't played through the quest yet, there might be some spoilers. And if that's the case, what are you doing here? Go and play the quest, because it is fantastic. All right? If not, if you don't care about spoilers, you've done the quest, sit back, relax. We're going to take you on a nice tour through AKD. So with that spoiler warning out of the way, I will hand it over to the fantastic art team.
Nice.
All right. Well, here we go. Xantha. Not Xantha.
Yama.
No, Yama. Yeah.
Then it's not Yama, it's the Judge of Yama.
Don't even know my own concepts. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a really cool one.
As I'd say in your defense, you called it Xantha throughout most of the development as well.
Yeah. Oh no, I know. That's called Spaghetti Head. Yeah, this is a great one. I really enjoyed working on this. I mean, who doesn't love working on a demon? But also just it was a topological problem. So what I mean by that is, obviously in old school we don't really have that much resolution to do anything. But I still really wanted to make him buff. Like, how do I describe all these muscles and all of these, striations and latimus dorsi? And I think it worked out great. And for those of you, there's people in the chat just saying they missed Mod G, and she killed this. When she modded this, she really took out the park. So, yep. We got to.
I was a big fan of the gavel hammer. I think that was really great. He's a judge, which I think leads on to one of the original, or not the original, what ideas that we had, which I wish we had done. To this day, I wish we had done. But the original fight, if anyone remembers from the quest, is you're actually on a pier. You kind of get teleported to another dimension, and you're on a pier, and he's firing these kind of fire waves. I really wanted to have him teleport you to a kind of demented, like, judge, like, courthouse kind of thing, and have like the jury of the damned kind of on the sides, and like instead of fire waves, it was going to be like legal documentation or something like that. But it would have been very different than what we went with. But it was a funny idea, I thought.
Did we want to talk about giving him a powdered wig as well?
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I think the great thing about these concepts that you've been making recently, Moggrub, is just the way they seem to marry together concept art with the actual style of old school RuneScape. And as an artist working from these concepts, it's very easy to interpret them straight away into something that's game ready, as opposed to having to go through this mental wrestling match with whatever you're looking at to actually interpret it into something that's suitable for old school RuneScape.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That was the goal. Jumping on the project, I could have gone in and just kind of gone pure concept art and just inspiration, like, hey, here's something I think is really cool, and then maybe that's not even applicable to you guys or even doable. So the goal from the get-go was to do something that kind of straddled the line between, you know, doing something cool and pushing the boundary, but at the same time being translatable. Yeah, it's good to hear that.
Cool. Apparently my mic's booming. It's either my mic or my voice. I don't know. Well, we'll never know.
It's your voice, man. It's just your booming voice.
Sounds great. Original. I love to hear your voice.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Look, there was I remember getting some feedback on Twitter of this, and you know, there was lots of really great feedback on sort of adding more kind of small details, amulets on the forehead, or you know, things around. In old school, we really have to make a design work in the big shapes, and we don't really have the room to add any of these small details. Not on I believe Yam is this a 5x5 or a 3x3? I don't know, west of you, off the top of your head.
3x3, I think.
Yeah,
3x3, yeah. So there's a real kind of the temptation is to go in and add just all this detail and make it as cool as possible, but when it comes to it, we really have to decide what is going to lead the design and push it and make it cool, and then rein everything else back and just let that one thing lead. So with Yammer, it's that bright red. Not many other colors in there. It's leading with a fiery red and the big gabble. You can see in my sketching there, I'm trying to work out how complex a ram's head is and whether we can get all the bone structure, the cheekbones and all the teeth and stuff in there. G found a really good middle ground there. She did a good job on that. But yeah, just gives you an insight into the kind of things we're trying to solve when we're trying to deliver cool stuff.
It also helps to kind of understand the scale of it as well in game. So depending on the size of the NPC depends on how much detail you can put on it. So if you tried to do a detailed mask like that for a human character, for example, the fidelity of the graphics in game would just mean that all of the mesh starts kind of crumpling under just kind of the weight of its density. So all of those details will be lost and it will just become this visual noise. So actually scaling it to the right size of how big you want your NPCs to be as well is an art in itself too.
If we had that, was able to add the smaller details, would there be anything you guys want to add to the model?
Even if it could like get that low, it would get a bit noisy at that sort of smaller scale.
I really like simplicity. I don't think anything should really be added unless it actually says something about the character or serves a purpose. So I think it's absolutely fine how it is. Often if someone was to ask me what would I add to something, more often than not I'd be suggesting things to take away.
It has to be that way, yeah. Yeah, normally it's a process of reduction, but and also, you know, budget, time. If we had more time, like you know, like Brow was saying, we would have gone in and really pushed the design and done something really unique. Old School has a pretty funny sense of humor if you compare it to other MMOs, like WoW and, you know, anything really. None of them have the weird sense of humor that Old School does. So if we had more time, definitely trying to get that in there. I mean, this was a perfect example, potentially doing that, but yeah, in this case, we went just for Badass Demon.
Cool. How much time do we have to discuss each slide, by the way? Just wondering. Is it an hour-long stream?
Yeah, an hour long stream. So
Okay,
just
cool.
keep going. If we need to speed up at the end, I'll poke you guys.
Okay, that'd be interesting.
I think the next image is another image of Judge's like the actual ad set itself, so it might be worth moving on to that one just to sort of see how it's
Cool.
translated.
So we've got an animated one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just sort of seeing
It's
like
cool.
a turnaround of the Judge here.
That was one of
strings hammer attack.
That was one of Mod G's models just before she left as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's the last one.
if you're gonna go, what a good way to go! Like, it's a great
Mhm.
model to.
It's lovely.
Yeah, she did go out with a bang, definitely. Yeah, she killed it. There was a good question here from Wolfingly, saying it's cool how we're kind of modeling with Light. He or she was asking if we use Blender or kind of what tools are we doing in house, how we're working out light, and how, for example, Yama, how we're dealing with that. I don't know, West or Brow or Ghost, or any of you guys can answer that.
Yeah. Ghost, be my guest.
We could all answer this, I suppose. We might all have slightly different techniques. Me personally, I just always assume everything's lit from the top down, and any geometry that's pointing, say, upwards will tend to just get a highlight on it. Any geometry that's pointing the sides will tend to get a mid, and anything that's pointing down will get a shadow on it. And sometimes I break those rules slightly to accentuate some muscle tone or a particular shape or form within the model. But by and large, that's how I'd approach it.
Yeah, that's a good way. That's how I describe it as well. Especially the key distinction being that unlike actual lighting, right? Like we can actually go in and specifically put a shadow right on the bicep, right, where maybe there wouldn't be one, to really accentuate that those kinds of things. In terms of software like Maya, we're using Maya for modeling. So yeah.
I think we had
Cool.
not to spoil too much, but we had a good example of that today when Mod Brow was showcasing some work he's been doing. Very, very cool stuff, which you guys should see very soon. But yeah, it's very cool how you guys can adapt to something that most other games will like have there as a standard. Very, very cool.
Cool.
Yeah, we have some funky engine restrictions with Old School. They're like real lighting, so yeah, you have to be quite clever with it.
Yeah, we basically have one light in the entire game for the environment and one for your player as well. And the players aren't lit from the top to make the lighting even. They're lit from the front, so that means you get 50% less light on your player's back, which was an interesting choice, but it's a choice we're stuck with. So yeah, painting on the light is pretty much the sort of solution for having light in game, or a representation of light.
I mean, there's some stuff coming up that the Brow's been working on, really pushing this to the limit. We can't really show it now, but I'm very excited to talk about that. Yeah.
Awesome. I think the next image is some Barlamore concept and work. So what was your guys' main inspiration when you were drawing up the concepts and making these models?
So the cultural references for Queen Ziani is the Roman Empire and the Aztecs. So two desperately different cultures separated by hundreds of years of time, but both extremely kind of exuberant in their shape design. We kind of she's got a big personality, Ziani, so I really wanted to have something that just instantly shouted, okay, here's a big character. She doesn't get any dialogue in the cutscene or any moment to shine. So getting that snake on there was essential. I remember showing this, tentatively sliding this across the rest of the guys, being like, is this possible? And kind of the collective sigh. You can kind of see up in there.
It was a challenge. It was It was good. It was good. I think it really paid off, to be honest.
Yeah. Getting a snake on someone's shoulder that's big like that and is animated is no small feat. Ghost, take it away, man. That was all your magic.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it actually uses the rigging on the animation for the flying carpet. So you've essentially got the flying carpet wrapped over your shoulders there. It's a really kind of hacky way to do it, but we managed to pull it off in the end. The soldiers you see down the bottom are also based on the concept as well. There's not always time to produce concepts, so for those it was just a case of grabbing some pictures of Roman soldiers and Aztec priests and all that sort of thing, and then trying to fuse them with what Mod Grub had put on the concept there. and that was the end result. And also with the female characters, you can see there on the light grey backing. It was a nice attempt to do something that wasn't sort of too drastically different for females, but more just the same armor for male and female guards that had just been tailored slightly differently as well. That was it.
Was the
really
the
cool.
challenge of having
Almost.
having it render properly around the back of the head? Or did that all just work out quite nicely in the end?
Oh, right, yeah, I always find it really difficult to explain render ordering to people. But if you see an object in front of another object, if they get into too close a proximity, the engine will try to render them at the same time, and you'll have both of them flickering on the screen for the same space. So in the editor, what we have to do is just select that portion of the model and just assign it a number, and the higher the number, the higher its priority. So if you look at Xianyi there, for example, and you look at the head, that's a higher priority than the snake behind her shoulders. And then when you turn the model around, half of the snake has to be a higher priority than the head. So it can be a real headache to get right sometimes, but we managed to get it right for the most part.
That was a good pun.
It wasn't intended. I just realised when I said it, typically I don't like puns. I'm quite ashamed of that.
I mean, those are the best ones. The
Like the
ones that
accidental
aren't intended
puns.
are normally the best ones.
Uh,
Cool. Should we move on to the next piece of
Oh,
concept?
yeah.
Oh man.
'Cause this,
Oh, so
I think this design is so cool. To be honest, the first time I saw it, I was
Mm.
like, yes, this is my kind of jam. Where I was always wondering where the concept of the hands being so prevalent came from.
yeah, that's a good one. Who wants to take that?
I think it was it in the original design that Mod G did? Did the character have no hands at that point?
It definitely had the cloth hands. It definitely had the what we can see kind of in the middle to the right a bit. The hands
Okay.
behind the body. I don't
think that's-
know if it had the severed hands.
I think that just started off
yeah.
as like a cool thing, and then it was more through the exploration in the pre-production process, which we haven't really done on projects before. The AKD to that extent, where we really started just pulling the character to bits and saying, well, if this character's got no hands, why has the character got no hands? And we came up with reasons for that, and then that kind of snowballed into, well, if this character hasn't got hands, maybe he's got this kind of penchant for using hands for his magic, so he's kind of overcompensating in a way. So then all of a sudden the hands with his character became an overarching theme to the spells that he uses and stuff. So it was a very organic process that just came about through collaborating in a sort of brand new pre-production phase for the quest.
Yeah, there's lots of accidental elements to that as well, because the actual Krend flag had this big hand on it, and we
Yeah.
as soon as we realised this nice connection between it all, which we needed to lean into this. So yeah, just sort of building on as much as we can, and I think in the future.
Can we talk spoilers? Is that okay? For the quest?
I've already given the spoiler warning, so I feel like that's fine.
Okay.
You guys, last chance. If you don't want spoilers.
So this character's kind of like a political puppet master. So the idea that he'd somehow managed to get his hand on the actual flag of Karen while still remaining anonymous seemed particularly clever. So it was just a happy coincidence. I think we were just talking in a group chat, and we just raised the fact that Xanth's allegedly everywhere, and there's even a hand on the flag of Karen. So it seemed kind of cool.
Yeah, and just the way this concept as well shows that the sort of robe flying off in that sort of shape of a hand as well sort of gives the idea of the whole puppet master. It's very fitting.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, it gives excuses for hand puns as well, which is always always good fun. I think we were on hand puns for like a week. It's like, I have to give. Do you want me to give you a hand with this? Yeah, it's not. It wasn't pretty.
I think even Moded put some of the dialogue in during the boss fight as well. He gives you those taunts, and then the banners as well that are accessible outside Krend Castle with the hands on them as well, so people could run around rioting, as they like to do.
Originally, I wanted to. I quite like the idea that his hands had been cut off, and then they'd kind of tormentingly put them around his own neck. There's a sketch of that a little bit up the top there. That was another render order issue, and additionally, chains I learned are also quite difficult in our engine right now. So unfortunately, that's why we strapped them to the side, and then. But in a way, it was that decision that kind of led us to kind of evolving the whole hand thing and trying to find as many ways to get the hand in there. So, interesting example of how a design evolves over the process.
Yeah,
Through its limitations.
it's a really lovely pose as well, having that sort of the hands around the neck like a millstone in a way, sort of kind of like it had this sort of Dickensian ghost feel to it. It's a shame that we didn't really get to realise that, but as you say, sometimes you just run into technical limitations and it's not always possible.
And we still managed to get some chained hands in into the environment, so
Yeah,
True,
that's
like
very
that,
true, yeah.
Cool.
Cool. I think
Cool.
the next one is one we showed off with the release blog.
The were hands.
Yeah, see, this is the one I was talking about. The hands
Yeah.
kind of behind the.
mm,
They were like
yes,
withered, weren't they?
Mm.
yeah. This was I think it was originally Mod G's concept, and it was done quite potentially. I can't remember when that. It might have actually been prior to the actual lockdown and working from home situation. So yeah, this was done quite a bit in advance. Yeah, and it goes to show those sort of like early spectral hands and how they then. I don't know if this was her intention, but yeah, how they sort of they either get larger. I think that's what she was going with, but I think I misinterpreted it as actually the cloth being haunted by the hands almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I remember that now because the hands were wizened, and I think that was my interference then. I spoke to Mod Ed and said, what about if the hands were chopped off? I remember now. Sorry, this is my fault.
Yeah, it was exploration through pre-production. That came
Yeah.
up. Yeah. But I mean, it added to the mechanics of the boss fight as well, because then we could have like those, he detaches his hands and they start running around the environment and chasing you, which was quite a cool effect.
Well, yeah, I think
it's
that
quite cool to do that.
it was a really nice touch. I think it's actually Mod Ed that mentioned that, and just said he wanted hands running around. I think that's probably where the idea for having the hands missing came from. Just the idea that this character needs these hands to actually interact with the world around him, and without his magical powers, he'd essentially be crippled and unable to do anything. So yeah, it was a really interesting dynamic to have to a character.
Yeah. I mean, we're past spoilers at this point, but if you've played the quest, this isn't the end of Xantha. So yeah, it's going to be exciting to see more of him in the future.
Yeah, you have to go steal his hands in the next part.
It would be cool if you somehow turned his hands against him or something to finally defeat him. That'd be cool.
I'm sure
Maybe-
there are plenty of more hand puns waiting around the corner for that.
Maybe he can't stop hitting himself. That's what you do.
That would be dangerous.
Oh my gosh.
Cool suggestion from Aurora here about maybe sometime in the future having the hands as a glove slot. Maybe we could have some kind of phantom effect on that. Kind of cool idea. I like it.
Cereal hands, yeah.
I think I was chatting with
That'd be cool.
Mod Oasis recently about some Hulk hands as a potential for something that we won't talk about. It's a bit more secret, but yeah, maybe something like that.
Have we ever done those really sort of tacky foam hands that they have at football games for a holiday event? And if not, why not?
I'm pretty sure I've seen one in the repository, and I thought you
Yeah.
made it, Ghost.
We talked
Really?
about this recently, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it was around the time you made that shark hat, maybe.
Oh
Or
no,
maybe
I'm gonna
imagining
wiki it. I'm gonna wiki it.
the treasure
I'm sure that
chest.
doesn't exist.
I hope
I don't
it
think it's
exists.
released. I think it's in the repository, but we've not actually thrown it out there.
Oh,
I've
okay,
definitely seen
maybe-
it floating
maybe you
just
shouldn't.
somewhere. Or maybe it's part of the quest, maybe, where there's a character cheering someone else on.
Not sure. The Euro's over now. You've missed your opportunity.
Oh, that would have been a perfect time.
Yeah.
Perfect tie-in, yeah.
I think next up we've got some animations,
Yeah.
which are cool. Was this the original intention for the idle animation, or was it something that evolved over time?
I think you looked at the cool sort of like hands hanging around the NPC's neck that kind of like gave the character that really sort of like decrepit look, and it's trying to just interpret that in a way that kind of made the character look like old and sort of wizened. So there was a real contrast into how animated and powerful he looks when the combat side of the encounter kicks in. And it's also nice to kind of put the hands behind the back to almost make them feel like dormant and concealed in a way. So that was the idea with that.
Yeah, I remember like keywords being like, making him feel quite meek, in a way, being used for sure.
It's kind of that like.
Go ahead, Ghost.
Okay, sorry. It's kind of like that Emperor Palpatine thing, really, isn't it? Where it's kind of the wizened old man that comes onto the Super Star Destroyer to boss Darth Vader around, that ultimately turns around and starts like frying and electrocuting everyone.
Yeah.
It was I mean, we'll see in the next slide, but kind of the intention was to have this kind of very meek-looking, kind of frail character that then suddenly flips into just off the chain. It's like way over the top. So it was, yeah. Gosh, you did a good job on getting those postures to lose my words now. But yeah, show that contrast in the character, because just it's the nature of the reveal for Zampa. He's very mysterious up until this point. So we wanted you to kind of have your guard down, not really know what you're getting into, and then it just to slap you and just be this whole kind of panic, So yeah, telegraphed really well in the pose.
Cool.
One hit KO slap. That's what I can see. His big hand.
Yeah.
A big foam finger comes after you. Not see my hand. There is.
Speaking about it now, if we go to the next slide, we can see that awesome transformation.
This blew me away when I first saw it.
That's so cool. Thanks.
It's so cool.
That took it didn't take too much thinking actually. It wasn't too bad. I think there was a whole bunch of animations that all needed to be made, and when I made this transformation, I had about 3 or 4 animations to pull from. So there's like an attack animation where some frames have been reused in there. Resummoning the Phantom Hands as well is reused in there as well. Probably the most difficult bit was getting that robe to transition to falling off the back and drifting away. And then the rest just kind of made itself really. So yeah, it turned out nice. I was pleased with that, and everyone seemed to like it, which is the most important thing.
Ghost, how long would it take you to so from modeling to animation, which is the longest process? Where's most of the work going?
It depends on what you're asking for. I'd say I've done this process so many times now, sort of just making a model and then sort of building the base and then building the animation. So it's never like you don't ever just finish the model, then move on to the skeleton, then move on to the animation. You kind of do a model, get it in whip, then get it rigged up, and then you start seeing what you can actually do with that animation, and then you kind of like work your way backwards down the chain and say, right, I can start introducing these elements to the model, then move back onto the skeleton, see how much data you've got left to actually be building joints, see what else you can do with the animation. So you're constantly going up and down, up and down, up and down, until eventually you'll kind of meet this point where you've got a few animations and a working model and a working rig, and then you can start really, you kind of like know your material, then you can really start being a bit more creative with it. So it all tends to progress organically as one huge lump, which from an administration point of view isn't really very convenient, because you're having to sign off each of these jobs at a time and saying, oh, that's done. So sometimes you have to kind of like push a model through and say, yeah, it's great, that's done, but you've still got some VFX that need doing, so you just tag it onto the skeleton job and things like that. So it really varies so much, but I'd say ultimately everything comes along as just one unit as a character, and then you've also got the feedbacking stage and everything that you guys contribute with. So yeah, it's just a huge solid lump of work.
Definitely paid off, 100%.
Cool. Thank you.
Beautiful.
That cloth going back, I just need to highlight. We don't have any cloth simulation or cloth physics, or we don't even have IK or sophisticated. All of that is hand tweaked. It's hand done. It's crazy.
That's
Just sorry, I'll stop bigging you up. I'll shining the spotlight on you, go.
Dude, I can watch this all day. This is an amazing animation.
It
The most
sucks to give me
visible ghost
compliments.
I've ever seen.
I'm really bad at taking compliments, so I feel really bad when people try to give me them. So I just go, okay. So I'm not very grateful, it seems, but I just don't know how to take it. Yeah, it's good. Thanks a lot. I think with the cascading movements that you get with the hair, basically, all I'll do is create a single arc that moves very rigidly, and then I'll select each bone and just sort of like skip it onto the next frame, and then select the next group of bones, skip it on the next. So really it's just one movement that then gets sort of delayed down a chain of joints, so you get that kind of like Mexican wave effect on all of the fabrics and all of the hair and all of the flames and everything. So it looks a lot more complicated than it really is. Once you've done it once, you know how to do it. Cool. I've got nothing else to say on this.
I think bigged up enough. He's just like, please. With that, then, shall we move on to the next one, which is more about environment and the actual the area the boss fight is in, which is a really cool area. There's so many little details in it, which are really, really cool. Was it important to make sure it felt unique from other environments in the area, or at least stand out more so?
So this is really an extension of the boss. So we have the boss to tell a bit of a story, and then we have the boss zone as well to tell further kind of context. Xanth has been kind of cooped up in this place for a pretty long time, and he's kind of done all of his conniving and twisted all the lizards to his bidding. He's gone from a prisoner now to someone that kind of has a relative amount of control. So we wanted to represent that in the environment. He's also pretty messed up, and we wanted to. He's obviously an academic. He's one of the Archaeus, so we're trying to tell that whole story in this environment here. That was really our objective.
Yeah. So we're kind of seeing here, I mean, going back to that whole feedback process we go through, what we've got here is the sort of grey box. It's not really grey box, but I mean, because it's an expansion of a pre-existing area, as this is found within the Lizardman Temple within Kebos, well, beneath Mulch, should I say. We just sort of, well, initially Moded came in, created like an area for the boss to be fought in, created like the specifications that are needed for the mechanics itself, so the size of it and all those like spots on the floor, tied in with the mechanics. Grabbing some various assets around from Archaeus as well to sort of make it feel a little bit more like a evil wizards little laboratory sort of thing. And then it was Modgrub's job to come in here and sort of give direction artistically to see what we can do to lean into that even further. And then if we move into the next one, this is the activated, where I've gone in, added some more assets. As you can see in the background, I've got that table where he's doing all of his work. Just fixing up some of the values around the outside of the room to make sure it's they're not too loud and taking attention away from the boss itself. Something I also grabbed is like as I said earlier, to lean into that sort of hands-on chains feel, just to give that extra level of verticality to the level. Make it a bit more creepy as well. Making them silhouetted as well was a good way of making sure they don't take too much attention away. And some vials as well, which just go to show he's up to. He's doing something. He's brewing some strange brews. And if we move on to the next image, we've got like a close look at his table here. And something I would like to point out is like something that came up in feedback was what's in that jar. So I think it was I don't think there was anything in there initially. I think it was like a giant's head.
Yeah, it was another mob's head. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we thought we'd throw a little bot head in there just as a little joke. Nice little Easter egg.
If not the bot head, then Sani would have been appropriate as well. Just throwing that out there, guys.
We should decorate some more sandwiches out there in the future. I think there's a skull in the background as well. It's also based heavily off of Xanth's head. So I suppose he's very vain. He's got a big ornament of himself on his desk.
How vain would you have to be? I want a desk for doing my evil genius work, but it has to have a massive carved version of my face on it.
I feel like Ghost has secretly got one of himself on his
Yeah,
desk.
yeah.
You can't see. What are you saying about me?
It's like opposite the camera, opposite where your camera's pointing. I reckon there is just a face, you know?
And a wall-sized mirror, just ready for when he comes off stream.
I feel like all my
So-
attempts to appear modest over the years haven't worked. It's seen right through my facade.
I think I saw a picture of Grub's desk today, and it had a skull on it. I don't think it was a
Oh,
real
man.
skull, but yeah.
That skull's everywhere. No, not a real skull.
I think we've got some more animations in the next slide.
Out of
Yeah, moving
curiosity,
skulls.
can I just ask? This is probably a bit off now, but what is your favourite Sarni mod, Sarni?
Well, this is a big question because if you're going classic route like sausage versus bacon, sausage is superior, hands down.
Oh yeah, okay. Tomato sauce in your sausage sandwich. I assume you
Of
must.
course, a little bit of pepper,
Yeah,
a
okay,
little bit of pepper as
okay.
well.
Oh, you
I
finesse
have to
it.
disagree there. Bacon's definitely better.
Oh, best. Can we get him off, please, Drew? Can we get him off?
You have an
Um,
egg on top. You do an egg in
No,
there
I
as well.
I don't like eggs. Don't like
Oh
eggs.
no.
Cheese?
What?
Cheddar cheese?
Oh, dear.
Oh my god.
That's
Don't like-
awful.
I'm now gonna get all that. I don't like cheese either.
What?
Oh my God.
For a man of the Sarnies, I've got a very limited palate.
So egg and cress and cheese are basically off your plate. You can't do
Yeah,
those.
pretty much. Pretty much.
Right. Moving
Oh,
on.
no, no.
I have put an idea out to have us hopefully whenever we do the next Room Fest to have a mod Sarni stall, and it will just be sausage Sarnies. That's it. Because of my limited
So-
palate.
There's no vegetarian option.
Yeah, we can get
basically.
veggie sausages. That's fine. That's
Oh yeah,
fine.
of course you can. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Fair
remember I
enough.
had a sausage sandwich in a cafe once, and Mod Brow was very disappointed. Looked very disappointed at it.
I just
Was not impressed
Yeah.
at all.
Can I be completely honest? I don't know what a Sarni is. Wow, I sound so foreign. Sarni. Oh my god! But I assume it means sandwich, right? I'm
Yeah.
catching on.
Yeah, it's good.
The
I
British
think it's
people,
onion.
they like.
It stands for onion. That's what it is.
I see. See, the British people just like their sausages, and I just remember seeing a sausage sandwich. I'd never seen that before. Just
Never seen a
cultural
sausage
differences. Nothing
sandwich.
wrong with it. Nothing
You've
wrong
not
with
seen
it.
a
No,
hot
just-
dog before.
There's something wrong with you.
Oh, come on! I've seen a hot dog and a hot dog
is
bun.
that basically. So you just change the shape of the bread. It's not that.
Hot
not
dog
that
and a
hard
hot
to
dog
get your
bun
head
is
around.
not a sandwich. That's not a sandwich. A hot dog and a hot
Yeah,
dog bun.
I agree.
that's not a
I agree with
sandwich.
Brow. It's not a Sarni. Doesn't
Okay.
it's constantly
It's not
the
a
same.
Sarni.
We
What
all
was that thing you
agree.
were telling us about? That New Zealand, there was like a hot dog and a bit of bread.
Yes, yeah, a snag. Yeah. You go down to Bunnings and get a sausage sizzle. They do a sausage sizzle every morning, like Saturday or Sunday morning. A sausage sizzle. Look it up.
What is that?
Okay, so I mean, this is like a New Zealand thing. It's just you have these this isn't sponsored by any hardware store, but you have these hardware stores called Bunnings and Mitre 10, and I think it's Saturday or Sunday morning, I can't remember which one it was. There would always be a dad and their son making sausages like on a grill, like out the front of these places, and so. I don't know. It's just kind of a cultural joke of just like go down to Bunnings and get a sausage sizzle because it's always there, and it's always another dad. There's a new dad every weekend. He's there making sausages.
Sounds
And that's
wild.
not a sandwich either, by the way. That's not a sandwich. It might be white bread with a sausage in it, but that's not a sandwich. Oh, there's cheese on that.
There is cheese on that.
Hey, get that
There
cheese
is.
off.
Yeah, there's no other in-game model for one, so I had to go with what we had. So
Yeah,
See.
If this was like Tron then, and you were sucked into old school RuneScape, you'd have to eat that if you wanted a Sarni.
oh no,
You're stuck.
no.
That would be the least of his worries, I think. You guys into old school.
Hey,
Oh my
after
gosh.
shelter comes food. I'm sorry.
I mean, that happens. It's like, what, you get a sandwich, you're like, there's cheese on this? Like, what? Like, no one's gonna care.
I mean, I think we could, especially with me, I think we could talk about Thani's for ages, but I think we'll move on to the next lot of
Yeah, sorry.
animations.
Yeah, as we were.
As we were. Yes.
There we have some new
Spells.
spells. So yes, we wanted to
Good.
sort of try some parity between the rewards from the AKD quest with a bunch of new, spells from the arcade spellbook, and also tie them together with the actual boss itself, so there is a connection there.
Yeah,
I believe this is the. Sorry, you go.
sorry, this delay is a killer, isn't it? Sorry about that.
Yes.
So basically, when I got the asset request for making these for the player, I was just told that everything that we do from the spellbook should really tie into Xantha if possible. So you'll see that Xantha uses this spell to actually take the player out once the player thinks that they've defeated him after the encounter. There's just a color variation in these, and Xantha also uses hands that come out of the ground to attack the player as well. So the player's also got those, as I believe it's the grasp attack. I don't know if that was the final name of the spelling game for the spellbook. Yeah, so that uses the hands as well, which I believe is on the next slide. There you go, cool. So we've got some variations on those.
So cool.
It's so cool. So
Painful.
Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to like sort of figuring out the sort of the tiers of these, we were sort of leaning into sort of the undead. So we had like one themed around ghosts, one themed around skeletons, one around zombies. We wanted to sort of bring that into the color palette of everything. And yeah, the other
Ghosts.
cool.
Ghost being the lowest level.
Why you put yourself down like that, man? Come on.
You don't know what my level in game is. It's so low.
Oh, actually, I think in the end we ended up having one for each tier in the end. Yeah, we ended up based on play feedback. So yeah, there's one for each. So it's like lesser ghost, greater ghost. I don't know, something like that. I can't remember.
Oh,
You hear
okay,
that?
cool.
You hear that? You're
There's
not
a
the
greater
lowest.
ghost.
Yeah, there is a
okay.
greater ghost.
I'm mediocre. that's good.
You're not mediocre.
Cool. We've got like 12 minutes left on the live stream, haven't we?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you want to push on for a few more slides or do questions?
Yeah,
So
I think
the next one.
Oh,
Sorry,
sorry,
the next slide's about the icons.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
I think we can get through to the end if we whiz through, and then maybe we can take a
Yeah,
couple of questions. If Druid is feeling nice, maybe he can whack on a couple of minutes at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, we can
so
whiz.
sorry. I'm sorry about the sandwich. I shouldn't have done it.
That Sani debate,
No,
yeah,
it's
that's
fine.
what
It's
gone
fine. It was
into.
good. It's good to get that in the air. Like, get that on the open.
Needed to be said.
Cool. So where do you go for the main source of inspiration for icons when you're designing them? Because West, I believe this was you.
Yes, it was. So I mean, this spellbook itself existed. Well, an idea for this spellbook existed quite a few years ago now. I think I initially proposed back in, I think it was early 2018. So I'd already had a stab at it before, so I kind of knew what not to do. And after all the the conversations I was having with Mod Ghost and Mod G about the spellbook animations and Xantha and just the whole quest in general, and just getting that consistent color palette down and sort of leaning into the theme of hands, I think it gave me a good direction to go in overall. Kind of leaning heavily with the color palette already set by the Arceus sort of region as a whole. So we've got those I think we called it arcane blue or arcane teal, and then we had that dark crystal purple, sort of like a blood red, and then what was that other color?
Twisted green, I think.
Twisted green, yeah.
That's the one. Yeah. So yeah, like riffing off of the twisted gear, as well as all the magic that surrounds Eric, generally has that sort of twisted element to it. Yeah, just making some cool looking icons. Yeah, felt relevant to the spells. Spells look. I just realised this is the it's just I left the eyes on the herb spell there, whereas people were joking about the frog. It's the whole,
I didn't see that when I was making these images. That's amazing.
yeah, I think it's not actually in the live version, but I put those on when someone made a comment, I think during a review, and I just realised I didn't remove them. So yeah, got a little
fine.
magic frog there.
Ship
It's
it.
perfect.
Ship it. It's fine. I think next
Yeah.
we've got some new animal NPCs which were added to the rework, which is really cool. Was there a decision behind why the boar and the lynx were chosen?
Overall, we're just trying to find a way to create some unique fauna for the for the Shadian area. Boars seemed like a good opportunity. We hadn't had boars into the game. Well, aside from sour hog, I suppose that's a form of boar, but it's more of a humanoid variant.
Yeah.
We've got pigs, but yeah, nothing quite as so wild. So yeah, having those in as sort of like a nice low-level mob seemed like a cool way to sort of bring attention to the area. And the links, just in general with Shadian area, just sort of like leading into the whole cat-like origins of the name. So I thought links would be like a good option to go down.
Cool.
These are lovely
Yeah,
models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As for the models, they're just models. I don't got
Oh my
anything.
gosh! What do you mean they're just models? Oh my!
There's only so everyone's seen art streams now. It's just a model. You know what a mesh is, and
But
that's
they're
what it looks
beautiful
like.
models, guys. They're beautiful models. Be proud. They're cool, man.
Of course, I'm proud of them. They're
Art.
lovely. They're lovely, but I haven't got anything to really expand upon other than there's some models. With these ones, it's just you know, they exist in real life, don't they? There's a boar and a lynx. Look it up, Google it. That was the inspiration, you know.
I mean, speaking of models, then we might as well move on to the next one, which you might have more to talk about. This one, Ghost. Was there
Wasn't mine.
Oh, wasn't
this
Ghost?
was one of mine.
Oh, West. Okay. Well, I always wondered if there a reason the purple color was chosen. Was it to like offset the environment it was in?
Yeah, so on the initial proposal, it was quite toned down. It was all browns, but yeah, they were kind of lost in the environment initially. We had a sort of a review session, and yeah, one of the concept artists, Mod Jerv, she did a great little paint over just to sort of pick the necromancer out a little bit more, so he stood out. We had the sort of purple elements of the cauldron and the dark crystals there, sort of just leading into the sort of Arceus idea. I think the kind of angle I was going with these necromancers was the idea that we have this undead spell book. People, like there's clearly spells to summon the dead. Maybe an Arceus wizard or someone who's studying in the library has gotten hold of this spell and's gone a little bit crazy, ran off into the woods and is up to some nefarious means something that undead, and just sort of leading into that sort of very wild look, that sort of that deer skull there. And yeah, just thought purple was it's a very nice mystical color. It's good to use for like dark magic. As I said, we had that like dark crystal purple that we were using, so it's a good opportunity to use that one.
Cool. I forgot to mention as well on this one and the boar as well. I did have some input from Mod Jerv. He's working with the team currently as an intern to kind of help with how the characters should be coloured to fit within the environment, and how some of the fur on the back should actually be structured, because it was really a bit tricky trying to get them to look as good in game as they did in the editor. And thankfully, with those exchanges, I think there's a little bit of feedback back and forwards. We managed to get them there in the end.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. The next one, the second to last one, is the cool spoilers, but assassins. Very, very cool.
For those, there was no concept, so just literally going on Google and typing in what does a ninja look like. I found some really cool diagrams of the traditional outfits that ninjas would wear and the sort of equipment they carry. They were going to have a grappling hook and all sorts, and sort of like some blades hanging from their belt, but because of that render order thing we mentioned earlier, where you can only have so many different overlapping objects before they start fighting to render over each other on screen, just had to be reduced to a pouch in the end that just hangs on the side. But the actual sort of garb that the person wears is pretty much what was taken from the traditional sort of ninja outfit.
Yeah, the important thing here was just to keep them as basic and mysterious as possible.
Yeah, that was it. So they weren't supposed to look as if they were aligned to any particular faction within any part of the game. They just had to look like they were very anonymous.
I mean, yeah, it'd be a bit. Unless you want to make a grand statement, I don't think sending, bright and colourful assassins to take out your victims is the best idea.
In all fairness, I don't know, were they actually in the snow part of the quest?
Yeah, I think at one point they are.
That is the wrong colour to be wearing in a snowy environment, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you mean once you put on that uniform, that's it? You're invisible everywhere. Doesn't matter.
That's how it works.
And finally, we have the models of, and this is very spoiler territory, but the new king.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I should spoil the ending, even though we said no spoilers, but there is a new king. How that king comes into place.
We have two. I wonder why.
Yeah, go and play the quest if you haven't already. What are you doing? Was just a quick question to you guys, just before we answer a couple of questions from chat. What was the most fun part of designing the AKD? Is there any particular thing that you enjoyed?
I'm just gonna say Xantho. That's my thing. Loved that. Lots of fun.
Yeah, I probably have to agree. Xantho, seeing those animations come out, seeing that concept get interpreted, that was cool. Also the Shazian rework, we covered that last stream, but definitely had a lot of fun with that as well.
Yeah, that's where I'd probably say Shazian stuff. Exploring a different culture, I think, like introducing a new type of architecture, introducing a new type of culture into old school I think is really, really cool. It's fun.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
I'd say, like, unrelated to Quest as well. Since I actually worked in the studio, I think seeing like a whole new bunch of artists come into it and having concept, then having time to do pre-production as well, it just felt like everything creatively was so collaborative with this particular quest, and the end result was pretty much the result of all the hard work that's got put into it, and it's really rewarding to see such a strong quest for the outcome. So yeah, even collaborating with the development team as well I really enjoyed that on this quest. So it was great. I shouldn't say even, should I? I should say also.
I think our art team, I think our art team in general is full of very, very talented individuals, and it's amazing to see what you guys produce, especially with the limitations that we have with our engine and game. Cool. Any final words from you guys before a couple of questions?
Bring on the questions.
Hey,
Bring
awesome.
out the questions.
Okay, let's do this. We're only going to do a few, guys, because we are, it's 1 minute to 6, so we're going to be around for a little bit longer, but not too long. Yeah, speed run. Here we go.
Speed run. Okay.
So the first question is from Schmobbing. That's thrown me off. One of my best friends is called Schmob. Don't think this is him, but are there any plans on changing other parts of Kourend? I love the art from the Shazian rework, and I hope other areas take suit. I know we did mention this last stream, but if anyone wants to answer this again.
Yeah, definitely. Reimagining some of the other areas that we've not had a chance to look at, like Discrelius, Livikane, Archaeus would be great. I think the one I'd be most excited for is Archaeus and maybe Livikane, because they've probably got the most drastic changes of terrain. So sort of like maybe reining that in a little bit and sort of giving them more of just more transition between the surrounding areas. Something that be quite cool. And just just like we did with the Shazian, sort of building into the world building and sort of just making the whole thing make a little bit just more structural sense.
Awesome. The next question I have is from Jam Jam. Do you guys plan on making more bosses to the standard of Xantha? Feels like you guys really took a leap forward with that art.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If not more, if not take it even further. Yeah, we're very, very keen to push the art as far as we can go. And yeah, I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of that.
Yeah, we can't talk about it just yet, but yeah, we've got some pretty cool things brewing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, even the judge fight was good. Like the you know, there is the Xantha fight, which is the big one, but the judge before that was also very, very cool. You know, you're on that pier and you're running against the flames, like very, very cool. Okay, next question is from Herb Pudding. Could we please get a snake on the shoulder cape in game?
I knew this would happen.
We knew this would come up.
Yeah.
We literally said, as soon as we did this is going to be asked for. Hey, Ghost, what did you say at the time, actually? What did you say at the time? Because I think he was yeah.
I did say that at the time that that's going to be requested. I think what you'd have to do is you'd have to replace both the held items, which, you know, fine if you just want to hold it cosmetically. But the issue that you'd have is it'd be clipping through some of the other shoulder items, like say the monkey on your back, for example, any backpacks, some of the armor like the Bandos gear that has big shoulder pads, achievement diary gear as well. So you wouldn't really be able to realistically release it without like a whole bunch of bugs visually that can't really be fixed. So I don't think you'd be able to do that.
I think didn't we actually talk about it maybe being a weapon that we can put in the weapon slot and then you use it like a whip? And so
Yeah, that's
you'd hold
true,
it
yeah.
and then you'd be like that, like that would be
I think that should release at the same time as the fire-breathing cannon that was designed on stream a few months ago.
Yes.
We got the model
Cool.
somewhere.
Yeah. And the foam fingers, of course.
Of course.
How difficult is it to work around the engine restrictions to make art better? For example, lighting and shading.
Oh my
It
gosh.
is the challenge.
It is the challenge. That is. Who said that? that is very much the core of a lot of us. A lot of our time nowadays is how do you make it better in such a limited engine? To answer the question simply, it is very, very difficult. It is very, very difficult. But it's something we're trying to make less difficult, just through tooling, through updating software, stuff like that, getting more modernized workflows. We're really trying to push that. So, yeah.
And also just trying to discover what we can do. Old school, I mean, RS3 went in its direction with textures and such. We've decided not to do that. And so now we're really playing with the space and working out, okay, how far can you push just, you know, vertex colors? How much can you explain with complex light? All of that. So, yeah, we're kind of in a process of discovery right now. And it's just going to get better. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on top of like render order and lack of lighting, we've also got a very strange limited color palette as well. I think, like most things, I think, you know, the original developers, you know, the Gowers, they were always looking for ways of optimizing the way the game worked. It was always, you know, it was running through a browser in like the early 2000s, so they had to do some pretty funky stuff to make it as optimized as possible. And a lot of the more desaturated parts of the color spectrum is very much lacking depth and information. So yeah, it's a constant fight.
I think if you haven't got certain restrictions as well, it can be difficult to actually find your own style, because if you're not careful, you can end up just chasing what everyone else in the industry is trying to do. So actually having those restrictions definitely gives Old School its own space. And now, from what I've seen from the team and from what I've been asked to do, it's more the case that it's trying to actually refine that style and make it into something that's really polished and as good as heightened version of what it is that it possibly can be, rather than just trying to reach into like the contemporary space of like what games look like.
Yeah, staying true to what Old School is, but you know, trying to push it to the next level.
Yeah,
very difficult. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
Awesome. We've got two more questions, and then we're gonna wrap up with the announcements. I've got a question from Kai Kaku, I think that's how you pronounce it. Sorry if I butchered that. I'm going to tweak it a little bit because they're asking about the next phase of the Xantha fight, which I don't think is in anyone's radar at the moment. But if you guys got to design if we got to fight Xantha again, how would you like it to go?
Oh, I'm really excited for the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Gosh.
I have a rough
I
idea
mean,
of the
lots of
direction.
hands.
Yeah,
I would say
obviously,
lots of hands. Maybe 3 hands.
4 on top of a hand, like a ballerina or something.
Yeah, maybe some feet.
I some feet. What are you talking? Get out of here! Get out of here! What are you talking about?
It's going to go full Monty Python, isn't it, for the spec attack?
Yeah. Feet versus hands. I like that. 1v1.
No, I like Ghost's idea of like somehow we get his hands off his belt and we just go up and hit him with it or something, and it's like, why are you hitting yourself? I like that.
Yes,
I think
boss is... Oh, who's going? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna take it.
You go.
do it.
Is that if we get another chance for another fight on Xantha, we've already got some kind of state changes where his shirt comes off and etc. etc. I really want to play with just how much further can he evolve. What's his true form? What's his final form? That's gonna be fun to explore.
Are we going full nude? It's the vote.
Yeah, what's on the,
I don't think he meant it that way, guys. I don't think he meant it.
Well, the hands might have to be moved if it was a full nude.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. That's fine.
Oh my. What a direction that would be.
Don't worry, I'll reel it back with this last question from
thank you.
Level. So when designing the new areas, like the Corrend reworks, Valamore, and an Eastern continent, if they're ever implemented, how do you approach making the art look good while keeping it consistent with the old art / style of old school RuneScape?
That's a really good question.
Again, yeah, really good question.
We have a... we've all got something to say.
We all want to do this.
No,
don't we?
go on.
I've already had my time, so someone else.
No.
Mod West,
You go.
Yeah, Mod West. Yeah, West, you go.
Oh, okay. I was just waiting for one of you to take that one.
Well, this isn't going very well, is
Go
it?
on, Brow. Go for it. Go for it.
I could go, but so I mean, in terms of designing, some of the things that you're seeing through like the Shazian rework, Xampher, the Judgeyama, stuff like that, all of AKD, you're seeing, the quality increase is kind of twofold. One, we're getting a lot of really great, talented artists onto the team, but also we're changing the way we work, right? We're doing a lot of upfront work before we even make a single model. We are fleshing things out and in a process called kind of pre-production, right? Before we start pre-production, start actually producing the update, we go through a ton of pre-production. So in terms of like designing a new area, obviously we're given a brief of what the the quest is, what's going on, because I guess we don't usually make an area that's empty, right? We get some sort of brief. But in terms of the areas themselves, we go through an extensive, process of exploring reference, looking at different places that we can reference, looking at the game, saying, where have we not been, right? Like, I think what was really cool about the Shazian stuff is that, we haven't really seen, I guess Ashihama kind of had some Eastern influences, but being able to see like a more grounded, kind of realistic-ish looking, Eastern style architecture was really cool, right? And there wasn't really an area in game that had explored that, those kinds of things, like areas we haven't seen, and then it's just an iterative process of concepting and more exploration, and basically coming to kind of a final package where we go, we've exhausted all the time that we've had to explore what this could be, and then we kind of go with it. Yeah. It's a very in-depth process, but a very exhaustive one, but one that results in a very good final product.
Yeah, to like think of like ways of keeping it consistent as well is definitely something that we have to think about a lot. Like looking back at what's done in the past. The problem with old school is there isn't really a consistent thing to look back at because of the way it was developed over time. Lots of variety of different artists. So it's very much looking back at what has been done in the past and taking elements that worked and refining the parts that don't work, and yeah, just sort of figuring out what that sweet spot is. And yeah, it's an evolving process, and yeah, the more we do, the better we'll become.
Awesome. With that last question, has anyone got anything else to say before I go through the announcements?
I've got a can of worms. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to say anything. You go.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, what is this can of worms?
I was going to say though. I was going to say something, but it'd take about 5 minutes, so that's all right. Don't worry. Do your announcements.
Well, now
Are you sure, Ghost? I think we're okay to hold on if you're. Okay. You'll just have to wonder what was on Mod's Ghost's mind.
Until next
time. So that's it. So with that cliffhanger, we will go through the announcements again. Exclamation mark game update. The Poll 75 Slayer changes are here. Store your tasks and rock out in the new redesigned helmets, along with more improvements from the Poll. You can find out all this with exclamation mark game update. Exclamation mark mini poll. There is a mini poll coming up. This blog was put out today, so make sure you give it a read. It's aimed at addressing feedback following recent changes. So share your feedback with us before the poll is launched next week with exclamation mark mini poll. And finally, if you would like something to listen to while you're playing Old School, then check out our new comfy lo-fi mix. We work with the fantastic OSRS beats to bring you the ultimate soundtrack to your in-game grind. You can listen today with exclamation mark chill. And with the announcements done, I would like to thank all of my guests on today's stream: Brow, Ghost, Grub, West, Light in the chat, and Druid and Spear behind the scenes. Thank you all so much for joining me. That is it.
Thanks for having us.
No worries. No, anytime, guys. We hope you all have a lovely weekend. And we will see you next week.
See you.